Hi beautiful people, you're welcome once again into my channel. If this is your first time, please do well to like, share and subscribe. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how I was able to make this beautiful baby frock dress. So now let's get straight into the business. I am working with a 1.5 trouser of a Duchess material. So now for you to cut the gathered part of the dress, which is the down part, you need to minus your half length from the full length of the dress. The half length I am working with is 9.5 inches, while the full length of the dress is 28 inches. So after removing 28 inches from 9.5 inches, I got a total of 18.5 inches. I approximated it to 19 inches. After doing that, I added extra 3 inches allowance, which made it 22 inches for the down part. So now the down part has two gathers, for the first step and also the second step. So now the 22 inches that you've gotten, you will take it and divide it into two, which makes it a total of 11 inches each for the gathers. So now for you to know the width of what you'll be gathering, multiply whatever you have on your waist by 3. I'm working with a waistline of 21. I multiplied 21 by 3 and it gave me a total of what you see me cutting out right now. So now what you do when cutting for the second step, just make sure that whatever you cut for the first step is 2 times of what you'll be cutting for the second step. With that, it's going to make the gathers come out pretty good. So now I was done doing the cutting. I didn't really film all that I cut out, but with my explanation, I hope you get what I was trying to explain. So now let's head over to cutting the upper bodice. So now I'll fold my fabric into 2 again. For you to know the quantity of fabric to fold, this is what you do. Whatever measurements you are working with, whichever measurements that is the highest part of the bodice, you divide by 4 and you add extra 2 inches. So I divided my bust by 4 and I added extra 2 inches. That was what gave me a clue on what I was going to fold. So now I am heading over to chalking out my shoulder. I'm working with a shoulder of 9.5 inches. I divided 9.5 inches by 2 and I added 0.5 inches allowance. Sorry, I had to change my chalk. The other one I was using wasn't so visible enough. So right from the shoulder, I measured my shoulder to my bust, which was 5.5 inches. And right on the bust, I divided my bust 23 by 4 and I added 2 inches allowance, which made it a total of 7.75 inches. And then I measured. So after doing that, I connected my bust to my shoulder. So now as for the length of the dress, for the half length, I'm using half length of 9.5 inches. I added extra 1.5 inches for my allowance. So on the half length, you measure out what your waist is. A waist of 21 inches divided by 4 plus extra 2 inches allowance. And then I connected. So after doing that, the next thing was to cut out my piece. Now, after cutting out the front bodies, I went ahead to fold my fabric again to cut out the back bodies. So now, as for the back bodies, you'll be adding a zipper allowance. So now, after folding, I folded and I added a zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. So now, once you are done doing that, place your front bodies on your back bodies, making sure that you are leaving 1.5 inches for the zipper, and then you cut out. Right now, after cutting out, I am chalking out my neckline. I'll be using a width of 2.5 inches and also a depth of 2.5 inches, which is for the front and also the back. Then I measured 0.5 inches for my shoulder slant and I connected. Please, if you know you cannot work, if you know you cannot make beautiful curves with your free hand, ensure you use your curved ruler. So now I was done cutting out the back and I slitted it into two. So this is the front bodies and also the back bodies. So now the next thing to do is to cut out 2 pieces of each of these bits. The other piece will be used for the lining. It depends on you. You can cut another lining if that is what you want, and you can use the same fabric if that is what you want. Please, before turning out the neckline, if you notice or you feel like your fabric is not stable enough, you can add a stay. So now I'll be heading over to the sewing machine to turn my neckline. I was done turning the neckline. I turned the neckline, I notched it, then I turned the zipper allowance too. I flipped it to the other side and I sealed down the side. This is what the front and the back bodies is looking like now. So now the next thing is we are heading over to bringing out our darts. So to do that, you go back to your sewing machine and you sew back your zipper allowance. After sewing back your zipper allowance, from that zipper allowance, you divide your nipple to nipple by 2. So now whatever it gives you, you measure it out. And then you notch. So now for you to know where your dart is going to stop, it's going to stop directly on your nipple, or a few inches, or let's just say 0.5 inches before your nipple. Now I'm done notching. You pick each of the piece Fold it together just like that, and then you sew with 1/2 inch. You sew it slightly to your nipple point. Do the same thing for the other side also. So now you go over to your front bodice and do the same thing too. Fold it into 2. You measure what your nipple to nipple is divided by 2. You notch. After notching, you pick it again, sew through with 1/2 inch. You sew slightly with 1/2 inch, and then you stop on your nipple points. Do the same thing for the other side too. So now I'll be heading over to my sewing machine. This is the result after sewing on my machine. Right now, the next thing to do now is to turn your shoulder. You put both fabrics together on each other with the 2 sides, the 2 right sides facing each other. Then you bring your lining, push it to the back, and sew with 1/2 inch straight down. You do the same thing for the 2 sides. So now I've gone over to my sewing machine to turn my shoulder. I already gathered the down part of my dress too. If you notice from the picture, the gathers was made outside of the dress, but my client requested that she wanted the gathers to be inside. So now it's time to cut out our shoulder. This is what you do when trying to cut out your shoulder. You measure whatever your shoulder is, and then you take out any other piece, like you take out extra measurements that is on top of it. If your shoulder is 9.5 and you measured, let's say 12.5, you take out whatever it is that is remaining. So now after doing that, I'll pipe it with a bias. Some people decide to trim out their shoulder while drafting out their dress. But for me, I think I prefer this method. It all depends on you. So now I've opened up the zip. Then I'll place the down part of the dress, right sides facing each other. Then I'll sew. So now I was done sewing together on my machine. This is what the outcome looks like. The next thing to do now is to fix your zipper allowance. I'll be fixing my zip with an invisible, I'll fixing my zip in an invisible way, sorry. So head over to the down part, you sew down, then you pick your zip and you fix it. Once you are done doing that, the next thing to do is to to put your ribbon. I used the bias tape. Sorry, I think my voice just went off. So now I use the bias tape for the ribbon. So here's what you do. You pick the bias tape, you sew together. After you sew, then you put it together to form that bow kind of look. Once you are done doing that, you tack it on the dress. And then you are done making the dress. Thank you so much guys for watching. Please do well to like, share and subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.